Hey, it's Jag. What's in the box?
Yeah.
After a couple of years of hemming and hawing a lot, I finally made the commitment to buy a couple of tools, actually 3 tools, that I have known I have needed for quite a while. I'm not too good with them, and so I wasn't really too sure I would make the right choice. But I've done a lot of research over the last few years, a lot of reading and a lot of learning, and I have bought myself what I call the Holy Trinity of bench planes. I do have some planes. I did a video last fall on my Stanley 78 Philister plane and Stanley 50 combination plane, both of which I don't know really how much I will use. The Philister plane is basically a rabbiting plane and has a bullnose. I don't know if I'll ever do the kind of woodworking that I would need that for, but it's a really cool piece and I really like it. It's probably from somewhere in the 1930s to 1940s, so kind of that pre-war sweet spot for vintage planes. My Stanley 50 combination plane is from somewhere between 1942 and 1962 based on the rosewood handle. If I do start doing more hand tool builds for guitars, I can use it to do the truss rod channel and things like that. But again, both those planes are really kind of just really cool. I have a plan when I do some renovating in here. I want to build a tool wall, and I've got a bunch of old tools that have come from various places. I've inherited from family. Some I have bought, like these planes. And I want to have a sort of feature part of that wall just for some of these vintage tools. I think that will look cool. I do have a smoothing plane and a jack plane. These are Stanley Handyman. A Handyman smoothing plane, Handyman jack plane, basically a 4 and a 5. But these were really entry level or cheap versions of the more professional tools. And they don't work so great. They look really cool. They'll be part of that tool wall. But I can't really get them tuned to where I like them. They're good for some really crude stuff. I just have never gotten them to work the way I want. So I've had them, and I've all along said, well, you know, I got the hand planes if I need them, but I don't use them because I don't trust them. I can't make them work. I do have a Stanley 110 block plane that I use quite a bit for things you would use a block plane for, and this one's fine. What I have in the box, I am super excited about this. So first up is a Stanley Bailey 4, Type 19, so this is post-war. It would have been built somewhere between 1948 and 1961. And those are not the most desirable of the planes, but the only thing so far that I can see on this that I don't like is it doesn't have a frog adjustment screw. I think once I get the frog adjusted, I'm not likely to move it around a lot, so that's not a big deal. The rest of the plane seems really solid. I may take apart the Handyman smoothing plane and this plane, and we'll just compare the two to see why this is a better plane. So now I have a good number 4. So of course the next one is a number 5. This one I'm really excited about. It's a Type 11 number 5. It was built somewhere between 1910 and 1918. So it's the older style. Doesn't have the kidney bean hole on the chip breaker. The kidney bean hole is probably a little better. And I could fit this with one of those. And of course, of the 3, the one I'm most excited about, a Type 15 number 7. So again, pre-war. These were built between 1931 and 1932, I believe. And really a good-looking plane. I think this is going to work quite well for me. So both the number 5 and the number 7 do have frog adjustment screws. All of these planes are really clean. They've been cleaned up and reconditioned. No the Japanning hasn't been redone or anything, but they've been cleaned up. I haven't bought anything on eBay in years, probably 10 years. But I got looking for planes. The story of this is I have been looking at planes. I've been reading and studying about planes and sharpening them and what makes a good plane iron and all of those things. And about 2 or 3 months ago, one of my favorite tool shops here in town had a sale on one of their modern number 7s. That was all I was looking for, was a number 7. And a lot of the modern ones, they're great, they're built well, but they can be really expensive, you know, $500, $600, $700, $800. And this particular tool shop, I won't name them because I like them and I use them a lot. But they have a series of planes they've come out with that are what they call budget planes, but they're really, really good. They review well. I have played with their demonstrators, and it's their number 7 is about $250 Canadian, and they had a sale. They announced a sale a couple months ago. It was $185, and I went, well, I'm going to go buy that. This is the thing about the internet era. They'll have a sale and they will say, oh, we've got so much of this in stock in the store right now for this sale. And you go down there and they don't have any. And this has happened at this store a few times. That really annoys me. Marketers are, I won't even say it. I just don't like the way marketing is done now. So I went in there. It said they had 6. They didn't. They had their floor model, which was complete and looked fine. I asked if I could buy the floor model, and they said, no, we don't sell the floor models, but we can sell you this. So it's the upsell. I don't like that. I walk right away. Even if it's a store I like and I'm going back to, I wouldn't say I'm never going back to that store because they do have good tools. They have people who are knowledgeable. It's just, like I say, the marketers. So, and the one thing they said was, well, you could go down the road to Lee Valley and they have them, right? And yeah, true. They also have them outside the budget I wanted to spend. And what are you doing referring one of your regular customers to your competitor who's just down the street? Anyway, I decided then that, okay, they aren't going to get my money for these planes. I'm just going to start looking. So I started looking. I looked on Amazon to see what's on there for decent planes. I looked at various woodworking supply online stores, and then I thought, well, I'll look on eBay. And I got to eBay, and like I say, I was looking for a number 7. And this guy, he's here in Canada. He's over on the East Coast, Nova Scotia, I think. And he had not only this number 7, but he had the number 5 and the number 4. Those were all the 3 that I want to get really good versions of those ones. And I looked at them, and like I say, it was a number 15, or a type 15 number 7, type 5 number 11, and number 4. The 19 was a little bit more iffy, but I thought I'd take a chance on that. And he had all 3 of them. Like I say, he's reconditioned them, really good condition. The prices were decent, and he said, make offers. So I found these 3, looked at them, decided what my budget would be basically for the number 7, and looked at all of these 3, and I said, well, hey, you know, I'm really looking for a number 7. This is my budget. If I up it a little bit more by this, would you send me the 4, the 5, and the 7 all in, shipping and everything else, not including taxes? And no question, he said, yeah, I can do that. So awesome. I know that the things to look for on a plane are how well all the parts mate together, how solid they are. The thickness of the plane irons plays in it too, and these are all pretty standard original thin Stanley plane irons. Eventually I will buy some thicker plane irons, but I'm going to go with these for now. But it's really, it's how everything, all the surfaces mate together to keep your blade from flexing or chattering or gouging or going in crooked, all those kinds of things. Again, like I say, I'm going to be doing some learning, still some more studying over the winter, but I do want to sort of partially at least take these apart and just get a look at them, just to make sure for myself that they are what I think they are. And I probably will take apart my smoothing plane and compare it to the Stanley number 4, which I have here. Okay, here on the bench is the number 7. I'm not going to take the knob or the tote off. I'm just going to take a look at how everything looks underneath. I will need to do a little bit of cleanup. The chip breaker and a blade are in decent shape. They've been rough. The blade has been rough ground. You can see that here. No major nicks. The blade is square, a little bit of a curve toward the end of each side to keep the corners from gouging. It is sharp. It's not as sharp as it could be, but it's in good shape. I don't see any gaps. It looks like it's doing its job. Definitely tight. And here where it mates to the frog, again, you know, a little bit of grease that I could clean, but nothing out of the ordinary. I'm not going to take the frog off. I know that on the bottom it's machined well and sits well on there. So I'm very happy with this plane. Seems to adjust pretty easily. The mouth is in really good shape. Let's get a long straight edge. The sole looks like it's in really good shape. At some point here in the next while, I will put some graphite from a pencil on it and run it over some 400 on a very flat surface, maybe my table saw, or I'm right now looking for a slab of flat granite. And we'll see, but I think the sole is in good shape. So that's the number 7. So here, the number 5, same thing. I'm not going to take the tote or knob off. I will eventually take the tote off. It has been repaired. There's a crack right here. It doesn't look like it's been the best repair. So I'll take that off, see how solid it is, and re-glue it, or at least fill the gaps around here and maybe sand that. The one thing I'm really noticing, I'd never really thought about it much with my other hand planes, the Handymans, is how comfortable it would feel. I just thought, okay, they're just planes. They feel okay. This one, the number 7, and this one, I pick them up. I don't want to put them down. They feel so good. Anyway, let's do the same thing. And again, this is a type 11, so it's from before they had the kidney bean. The kidney bean shape keeps the cap iron from slipping back, so it can also keep your blade and chip breaker from sliding back as you work. I'm going to go with this for now. I kind of really enjoy the fact that this is a pre-World War I tool, and it's in such good shape, and it feels so good to use. And like I say, aside from the tote, I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. Looking at it, again, this sole might need a little bit of lapping. Again, this would be something I'll check over the winter. But it looks good enough for now. I can see that it has been lapped. There's a little bit, if you can see right here, you can tell that that's a low spot. And you can also see down here and around the mouth. So I will work on that, but I think even as it is, it's going to work definitely better than my Handyman. Might need to do a little work on that edge. It is a little bit rough here, but I don't know. Like I say, I've got some learning about these tools to do. Chip breaker and blade. Oh, these are in really good shape. This is looking very shiny there. It has been recently sharpened. Again, not as sharp as it could be, but the chip breaker looks good. The iron looks good. All of these irons are the thinner irons. Christmas is coming. Maybe somebody can get me some thicker plain irons. But I think these will work just fine for me for now. Not quite square. Well, no, it's square. It's a little hard to tell. On one side it looks like it's not quite square. On the other side it does look like it's square. So I'm going to have to do some sharpening on these as well. but it's looking good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's tight. Oh, the frog is in really great shape on this. Really clean, nice and shiny. Again, I'm not going to take the frog off its seat, but it's looking good. I would expect these, even the newer, the 19, to be decent or beyond decent tools. So everything feels good. It snaps in nice and solid, adjusts well. Oh yeah. So that's the number 5. Okay, the number 4. And again, this one feels really, really good too. Check the sole. The sole's going to definitely need probably a little bit of work. You can see it's got some pitting here. It looks like it's been sitting on top of something square, maybe a plain iron. So that sole will need to be lapped, but let's just see how it looks in terms of flatness. Notwithstanding that there's some pitting and other kind of crud on the bottom of this, it's really flat. So I think it's going to work well as a starter. The tote is loose, so I'll tighten that up once we get this off. Oh yeah, the knob's loose too. And just like that, the knob's fixed up. Well, that's real tight. Okay, in great shape. All of these are in really excellent shape. Chip breaker, and oh, again, the blade has been sharpened really well. Ooh, and really sharp. The planes, from what I know, are adjusted really well. So I am going to do some test shavings. Oh, let's check how square the blade is. There are a few little nicks in the blades, so again, going to need to do some work. Frog, again, really nicely machined, really clean. And I am going to, I'm not an expert on this, but I am going to take this one right apart, and we will compare it to my Handyman smoothing plane. So we take the frog screws out. The mating surfaces on the bottom of the frog are very well machined, flat, and the surface that they mate to on the iron are all good too. Tighten up that tote, all fixed. Okay, so I'll get the Handyman smoothing plane apart and we'll make a comparison here. Okay, so the Handyman smoothing plane is essentially a Stanley 4. They are the same width, but the Handyman's about a ½ inch longer. Here's the Handyman smoothing plane, and here is the number 4. So the number 4 is a little shorter, I guess. In terms of that, the Handyman smoothing plane is somewhere between a 4 and 4.5. It's not wider like a 4.5, but it is longer. Comparing our the parts, first of all, if we look at the body and where the frog mates in, we've got good solid contact points on the four of them here for the frog. Whereas on the Handyman, we have these two surfaces, and it just mates right to the body down here, and it's over the paint. They're not machined smooth. It's not going to mate as well. Looking at the other part of the equation, the frog, the number 4 here, you can see again well machined surfaces to mate to these surfaces in here. Whereas the Handyman plane just mates again right on the rough cast metal. You can even see there's chips and very uneven surface here. Clearly, this number 4 is designed better for that. The tote's a little lower on the Handyman. It's a little less comfortable to hold. This is just amazing to hold on to. Neither one of these has a frog adjustment screw, so you do have to trust yourself to align your frog exactly the way you want it and as far back, how wide open you want the mouth. I don't think that's a super big deal. It's convenient, especially if you're changing how wide you have that mouth open, but I'm not likely to change that much. So once I get it dialed in and adjusted, it's going to stay the way it is. So if we look at the plane irons, Much longer plane iron for the Stanley number 4. It could just mean that the Handyman was used more. The metal feels a lot more solid, looks a lot more solid. They both need to be sharpened. Chip breaker looks a lot better on the Stanley number 4. It looks like it's a better quality metal, and the plane iron itself feels a lot harder. Again, they're very similar. What you don't get on the Handyman is this this plate, which sort of evens out the pressure when you lock the cap iron in. It just makes it, I think, lock down a little bit better. It feels like the Stanley is better quality than the Handyman. The Handyman looks sort of like some kind of pot metal. They're not too far off from each other. The big issue, I think, with the Handyman is just that the mating surfaces for the frog are not so great. So that's kind of a neophyte or layman's explanation of the differences between these planes. Check out the guys who really know what they're doing. Paul Sellers, Rob Cosman, who else? Jonathan Katz-Moses, and Rex Kruger. Those are kind of the 4 guys that I really look at for information, and they can really break down the differences between these. Rob Cosman wouldn't give as much credit to the Handyman as I do. So that's the breakdown of the planes. I'm going to reset here, and just out of the box, going to check how the new to me, number 4, number 5, and number 7 are working right out of the box. The planes are definitely going to need sharpening, but they do work. So here's the number 7. It's going to need some sharpening, but it is taking shavings. The 5, as I say, these all need some sharpening. And again, we're getting some shavings. I've got the blade set pretty aggressively because they do need sharpening. Not down to a fine edge yet. And the number 4. The number 4 seems to be the sharpest of the 3, and it's definitely smoothing that finish a bit. And even just using these really roughly and not really working too hard or paying too much attention, it is pretty flat as well. That's just a little demonstration of the 3 new planes, the holy trinity of bench planes. I don't mean to offend anybody. Let's call it the Supreme Triumvirate of bench planes. So I'm very happy to have these. You won't see these in my videos too soon. I've got to finish the GGBO guitar. And then, as I say, I got some work to do out here, which will also include fine-tuning these planes and even the Handyman planes I have and my chisels. And then the cold weather is going to be here within the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. And I don't have heat out here. It's going to be too cold to work out here, probably for most of December, January, and at least half of February. So we will be going inside to the electronics shop for the next few projects. Stand by for that. I've got some really exciting projects. Basically, modifications of everything I announced I was going to do last winter. If you've been following my channel, you know we had some family issues. We've lost a couple of family members this year, and it's actually been a very difficult time for us. Been slow on the channel, but things are looking up now. So, like always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. The links for One Soul Thruster are below, and until the next video, I'll see you.